and welcome to the Storytelling Festival. Shall I take you to Storyland right away? East of the sun, west of the moon is Storyland. In the Storyland, you can be anything, do anything you dream. Are you ready? Are you in Storyland? Yes or no? Okay, no. Okay. When you listen to the story, hopefully you travel to Storyland. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there lived a miller who was very poor. He was the kind of miller who ground wheat into flour, and this miller had a pretty daughter. One day, the miller was called before the king, and to make himself feel important, the miller told the king that my daughter can spin straw into gold. So when the king heard this, he wanted the daughter to be presented before him the next day. And he was the kind of king you didn't say no to. So the next day, the miller's daughter was brought before the king, and he said, "Honey." He took the miller's daughter to a big barn, and there was a huge pile of straw, and right next to it was a big spinning wheel and a stool. And up in the rafters, up in the roof, there were chickens. And the king turned to the miller's daughter and said, "Honey, spin all the straw into gold by tomorrow. Otherwise, it's your life." And he locked the barn door and went back to the palace. And the poor miller's daughter, she sat down and she began to cry because she didn't know how to spin straw into gold. Wouldn't you cry? So she sat crying, and a little while later, the barn door flew open, and in came a funny-looking strange man. Let me describe him. He was 2 feet tall, 2 feet wide. His hair was all over the place into space, and he had a nose which reached to the ground. And he said, "Hello, Mistress Miller. I see you're in a spot of trouble." And she said, "Yes, I need to spin this straw into gold." So he said, "You're lucky. As a matter of fact, I can spin this straw into gold. What will you give me?" And she said, "I'll give you my necklace." And so the funny man sat down on the stool, and there before him was a spinning wheel, and he went, come on, vrrr, vrrr, vrrr. And you know, it takes a long time to spin straw into gold. So he began to sing, "Round and round, oh, see that wheel go round. Gold will soon be found right there upon the ground." Come on, children. "Round and round, oh, see the wheel go round. Gold will soon be found right there upon the ground." Remember the chickens up in the roof? They were musically inclined, and they went quack, 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 quack. Well, it was morning, and the king came in, and he saw all that straw was spun into gold. He was amazed, happy, yet greedy. He took her to a bigger barn where there was a large pile of hay, a big spinning wheel, and a big stool, and there were many chickens up in the roof. And he said, "Honey, spin all this straw into gold, and I'll make you my wife." Ha! I wouldn't marry that king for all the tea in Singapore. Do you drink tea in Singapore? Yes, more than coffee? Well, in those days, the poor miller's daughter, she didn't have a choice. So she sat down, and the king locked the barn door, and she waited. Somehow she knew the strange man would turn up. No sooner did the king disappear to the palace, the barn door flew open, and in came that funny-looking man with that nose which dropped to the ground, and hair which was up in space, and he said, "Hello, Mistress Miller. I see the king is greedy. Yes, he wants me to spin this straw into gold. What will you give me?" I have nothing to give you." "Well, I heard you're going to become the queen. So, when a child is born to you, you will give me your first child." Well, the poor Mistress Miller was in a place, how do you say, between a rock and a hard place. She had no choice, and she agreed. And the funny man sat down on the stool, and he began to, come on, vrrr, 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 round and round, oh, see the wheel go round. Gold will soon be found right there upon the ground. Come on, my chicken chorus, come on. Quack, 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 quack. Quack, 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 quack. Come on. Quack, 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 quack. Hey, I can see some feathers rising up and down. Lovely. And soon that straw was spun into gold, and the king married the Mistress Miller's daughter, and she became the queen. A year later, a baby was born to the queen, and a few days